But I've got two little signs here that can be paired together or done separately. One of them has a couple of puzzle pieces, and one of them has these cute little, I don't know, we're going to call them, I think I called them stick arm people or something like that. So I wanted to show you first. Let me cut some of this away. So this little sign here is going to have these two little people, and there's a stencil that goes at the top that says "Better Together" with a little heart. Then I've got some eyes, some arms. I've got an arm for each body and an arm. There's two arms that are going to come in the center, and they're going to like be holding hands. And then I've got some little legs. But before I do mine, I wanted to show you, you have options here. So this is the first sign, and it will go with the second one. So what we're going to do is make it so that you can purchase one individually, or you can purchase them together, and it's going to be a $5 discount to buy both of them together, both kits. So you could truly do this as a date night DIY. So one thing that you could do, like one side I have stained. So, you know, maybe you want to stain the heads. Maybe you want to leave them natural. I'm going to leave mine natural. And I'm actually going to, the grain, I kind of think I want the grain. It's not like it's a perfect grain, but it kind of feels like it goes one way or another. I'm going to tilt the grain sort of down. I don't know. The grain's kind of going all wonky on this one. But I thought it kind of looked like they were looking down at each other a little bit better. But then it's just these two little pieces that are bodies. And so you would just, you know, fit them together, and that's where the body would go in relation to the head. But one thing you might want to do is a pink and a red, like if you want Valentine's-y colors. So I was trying to think this all out before I did any more of it. So I've obviously already pre-done my frame. So I did some video clips of that earlier, kind of in time lapse. I did my whole thing in stain. Then I taped off the frame and I wiped on white for the back. I did that on both of them. You'll see that on the other one as well. And then I also, because these are actually panels, this is actually the back of the panel. These are pre-made. These aren't something that I make. But because there's glue involved, so that's the front. So you could do it on the other side, and then you don't need any kind of hook because it would just hang off of this if you're going to do the other side. But I chose to do it as if it looks like a frame, but because there's some glue in here in this, it makes it a little bit, it doesn't finish quite perfectly when you try to tape off even and wipe on your paint and your stain. So I taped off again a little bit, keeping just a little bit on this edge and a little bit on the back so that I could paint in like some black, kind of like a frame. So that black frame comes up the side of the inner frame as well as a little bit on the flat back so that it's kind of tucked in there. And I don't know, that helped me feel like it was more finished on the inside. That's a total inside. That's totally up to you. But that was one thing I thought of, was maybe you want to do like a pink and a red. You're going to get 6 bows with this. You may want to use 2 red bows. You may want to use 2 pink bows, or you may want to use 2 of these little burlap bows. Or you may only want to use 1, or, you know, mix and match, or only use 1. Like, so one of them I was going to put as kind of a bow in the hair on this one. And then the other one was going to be like a bow tie. So, but you may not want to do one on each. You may want them both to be pink. You may want them both to be red. You may want them both to be burlap. Totally up to you. I actually, for this year, because I've already put my yellow back out, I don't know that I'm going to be using any kind of pinks or reds in my decor through winter, even for like a Valentine's thing. If I do any Valentine's stuff, which I probably will, but I'm probably going to keep it neutral. So the other thing that you could do is, I'm going to make this one, I'm going to leave these, their natural color. And I have another one, since I'm flipping this over, I want this one to be pink, because I'm going to use the pink bow. So even though I'm keeping it neutral, for the most part, I'm going to put little pops of pink in there. But you could also try to mix and match pink and red. And I'll show you how you can do that on the other one as well. So I actually have this one. Oops, sorry. I pre-stained this one so that I could flip it the right way. The curved side goes towards the center. And then I'm going to have this one be pink, this one be stain. And then this one's going to have a pink bow. And I think I'm going to do a pink bow tie over here and a pink heart. But you could mix and match reds, of course. But the first thing you're going to need to do is kind of lay out your stencils. So Better Together is up there. If I have it down here, I'm going to push it up a little bit. I only have about a ½ inch between them, but I don't want to glue them on until I take a look at, for instance, let's cut out this set of arms here. So it's 2 little arms, little stick arms that are already joined together, kind of holding hands. But so that you have a little give for where you put your people, you might want to, let's take these bows off. They're intended to kind of originate from somewhere around where the head and the body meet. So if I kind of estimate where that's going to be, I want to be able to move these pieces out of the way so that I can get this painted before I glue them on. So I want it to be somewhere around where the body and the head meet, maybe just a little bit lower. So I'm just trying to estimate. I might move them apart just a little bit more. And I want to try to keep them at the same height at the bottom, but I'm just eyeballing it. I don't want to get my whole head in the way. But somewhere about like that. So let's just move this one out of the way for a second. And I'm going to try to pull part of this backer off, just so I have a little bit of sticky. So let's go back and see. You could pull the backing off before you even try to estimate, because all you need to do is just lightly tap it down there just to get it held. But I think that's probably going to be pretty good for mine. So I'm going to move that out of the way and just stick that down so that it's in place. I'll move these back out of the way, and now I can pull the rest of this off while that stays in place. So I'll press it down and then remove the rest of it. Then I'm going to bring it back on and make sure I put these where I want them, so I can see the hands there now. Hopefully you can see that. And I am recording this so that I can do a YouTube video as well, so that it will be available. You'll have a better view of it. So I think about right there is where I want them. So they'll be kind of holding hands, and then I want to make sure I get the feet in place. So I think for these, I'm going to go ahead and pull this off. Looks like little music notes. So we're going to put the little music note feet. I want to make sure that I get them so that they're kind of underneath the wood or at the bottom of the wood. I just don't want there to be a gap between the bottom of the body and the start of the legs. You know, then you'd be like taping it off trying to fill it in. So I think about there. Okay, so now I can take this piece off, and I'm okay on where those are. I'm going to do the same thing on this one. I'm going to trim this up a little bit. Take my other set of little music note legs. And do the same thing. Okay, and then I'm going to hold this piece here. Actually, this is a little trick you can do if you don't want to lose where you had it. You can put a little bit of tape on the middle to keep it in place, and then you can start pulling part, just kind of like what I did with the hands. I really need to get my nails done and cut. You'd think that would make it easier. It has been way too long. But then that's when I have trouble getting the backer pieces off. So carefully peeling off a little bit of the backing here. Make sure that you know, the inside of that E stays there and all these other pieces. But you can cut a little bit of that off. And then as long as you're happy with the positioning, you can press that end down, pull these pieces back off again, flip it up, and pull the rest off very slowly. And then we can just do that. So the rest of it is on there now, and I can pull this all off. And I'm going to go ahead and get my Mod Podge on and then move to the other piece for a moment. This one has more in it. That way this can be drying while I'm talking about getting started on the other one. Just a little layer just for some protection from bleeding of the paint underneath. That shouldn't take long to dry at all. How are you guys? You guys are being quite music notes for the foot. Q-tips. You know what? That's exactly what I thought. They were Q-tips. They've got musical notes and Q-tips. I was like, do I want to call them stick people? Stick arm people, or do I want to call them like musical note people? But you're exactly right. They do look like Q-tips. That's exactly what I thought when I first saw them. Love it. All right. Not that there's that much here. And wiping the paint on like I did beforehand, it's much smoother than painting on paint. That's why I like it so much, is because it just goes on much smoother. You don't have to worry about really sanding it. But painting it on with a paintbrush, it just is so much thicker, and you get so much more like of a grooviness that you have to worry about the bleed through. Okay, I'm going to put that off to the side for a second. I'm going to switch. Now this one is going to be your puzzle piece kit. So I was trying to make them coordinate so that they can go together. This one has the 2 puzzle pieces and then the coordinating heart, or the interlocking heart. Now, I went round and round with this, about this myself this morning. I went between wanting to, because I have some natural wood on the first one. I wanted to have some natural wood on this one, but I had originally stained both of my puzzle pieces and then felt like I needed some natural. So Darcy's suggestion was maybe one piece is natural. So I think that is the way I'm going to go, so that I've got a little bit, I'm going to do my lettering in black, and that way my lettering on here can be black. I can have this, my heart is pink. You might want to do a red. You might want to do your 2 puzzle pieces pink and red, or 2 different, the same. I don't know. But there is also a stencil that, did I already cut one of these? I feel like I already cut one. No, I guess not. So there's a stencil for this one as well. This one says, "Love is the piece that holds us together." So that's what I'm going to put up at the top in the center. And then I've got 2 initials, one for each puzzle piece. And then there's this little scrolly heart pattern stencil for the bottom. I'm forgetting to show this in my YouTube screen as well. So that's going to go down in here. I'm going to trim it just a little bit so I don't have to wedge it in there. But if you wanted to do red and pink, if you wanted 2 different colors, you could do alternating colors on your hearts if you wanted. Hi, Deb. So that you bring both of the colors in if you're doing red and pink on both of them. So that's an option. But I'm going to stick with the pink hearts, I think, so that all of my pieces have the pink, the stain, the white, the natural, and the black. But again, this is why we like these projects, is it's DIY, because you can make it to whatever floats your boat. So I think I'm going to go ahead and pull this one all the way off, because the wording is a little bit. I do have my center. I did take a measuring tape, and I marked out the center this way and this way on both, so that I could get my puzzle pieces in the center there. But this is a little bit more detailed, delicate of a stencil, so I don't know that I want to tape it on first and do half and half. You could, you just have to really take your time. So I've marked the center on this one as well, although I didn't mark the center of the stencil, but I have, it's a better idea now of where the middle is. And I just want to make sure that my words look like they're centered on the puzzle pieces. So I will get this ready to go for Mod Podge as well. And then go back to the other side. Oh, there's a heart in there that got forgotten about. See if I can get that out of there. I didn't weed this one. Oh. I think I got them all now. Okay. So you don't really have to worry about keeping this one straight because it's swirly, which is nice. That part doesn't want to come off. There we go. Okay, so there's the middle there. So I think I'll be okay. So let's get the Mod Podge on here. So you could do this as a date night option where you each have your own project, or you could work on each project, do bits and pieces of each project together. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, because I'm wearing my Friday. Hi, Rosemary. Nice to see you. Virtually, anyway. I'm wearing my Friday shirt. The YouTube video, it's not going to show very well. We currently, if you missed my posts about the apparel and swag collection, we do have that currently down because we are switching printing partners. And I just ordered my sample. What we're going to do, instead of trying to debut a whole new collection at once, we're going to definitely do like a t-shirt every month, a new t-shirt design every month. So we have a design for January that will work for Valentine's Day, but it will also work at any, you can wear it all year long. And that's what I love about it. So I have ordered my sample and it is on the way, but we don't have the rest of them currently up. We will get the former t-shirts, the ones that we've done in the past, we will get them back up once we switch them all over to this new printing partner that we're going to be using. We ran into some issues. It was partly something that I didn't know on my end, partly something we didn't know about their end. So we're working on, let's just get this next t-shirt design out there, and then gradually we'll get the rest of the former ones built back in. So they didn't go away, they're just temporarily kind of under construction right now. But this was one of them, and I love this berry color. It's one of my favorite colors to wear, so that's why I bought it in this. So we have this Friday, and then we also have Happy Friday, but they're currently just not available. They will be again, you know, in the next coming weeks once we get through this next. But we're excited. 2 weeks from today, I will debut, at least I think that's the day that we're going to debut that t-shirt. And then we have some new Valentine kits as well coming. So let's move this and come back here. I'm going to grab my, where did I have? I had a black, I thought I did. I thought I had a sponge already. I'm going to come in with some, I'm out of paper plates down here. This is like that charcoal color. It's going to look black, but it's really just a dark charcoal. So the Mod Podge is dry, and then once I have the paint on, I want to take this stencil off right away. I'll come back and do another layer here in a sec. Cover the Q-tips and cover the music notes, which I actually went in and made these little feet and hands myself. I could have just traced some music notes. Would have saved me a little bit of time. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take this one off. And let me just get a little bit more on here. All right. Oh, I screwed up. I meant to make the heart pink. Darn it. I went right over the whole thing with black. Well, I can always go in and fill that in. So I'm not going to worry too much about the insides quite yet. Why do I Mod Podge before painting? I Mod Podge before painting because it helps kind of seal off around the stencil, around the edges of the lettering to form a seal so that when you put the paint on, it doesn't have as much tendency to bleed underneath of the stencil. You still will get a little bit here and there, and it depends on how rough the wood is, how, you know, groovy the wood is, because the stencil can't completely form a seal for all of the paint to not, you know, work its way underneath. So sometimes you'll get like these little fine lines because it runs underneath of the stencil, and that Mod Podge can help that. There's a couple other tricks to avoid that as well, but I usually have good luck with the Mod Podge, which is why I use that with the Mod Podge. So that's typically what I use. So hopefully that helps make sense. You want to make sure that the Mod Podge dries, but then when you're done with your actual paint, you want to pull that stencil off right away, because that paint too could form a seal around the edges, dry completely, and when you pull the stencil off, it could just pull the paint right up with it. So you want to try to get that off while it's still pretty wet. But these inside pieces, those will be okay. I don't need to hurry up and grab them. And if you do have any bleeding, sometimes I'll just kind of take a sharp edge and just smooth it out a little bit if I can, or try to scrape that off real carefully while it's still a little bit wet. But I don't want to fool with it too much, because sometimes that can just smudge it, and then it draws more attention to it than sometimes you just have to leave well enough alone. So let's get these pieces back on here. And they should start to look more like people. Okay, now you can kind of see that there are people that are holding hands. And then I have these little pieces too that are the arms. So this one is for the person on the left. Just kind of put that where you feel like it makes the most sense. Actually, I could have waited until I glued them on for these pieces. Doesn't matter. That's that arm. I lost the other arm. I've got my eyes. Where's the other arm? Hello? Why does this happen? I told you it's just the way the day is going. Did I throw it away? Yes, I did. I threw it away. All right, so this little guy, they're slightly different. So one is kind of bent up more. I feel like it needs to go just a little bit further than halfway. Like their upper arm here needs to go just a little bit past the midpoint. I mean, obviously, if you're looking at the side of a person, you're not going to see their legs this way, but I think it's still cute. All right, so those are the arms. And then the eyes, they're almost at the same level, but they're just ever so slightly looking down, kind of like the heads are kind of looking down, like they're bringing their foreheads together. So I'm going to put this one, it's, I think, kind of about midway. And the one eye is a little bit higher than the other, just like I said, because they're meant to kind of be looking downward. Towards each other. Like they're going to put their foreheads together. Now, I don't know that I'm going to Mod Podge. I probably should, but just for time's sake, I'm just going to go ahead and try to put some real dry paint in here. Not real thick, so that I have less chance of it running underneath. You don't have a lot of room to work, but if you're careful, you've got enough. I just don't want to have a ton on my sponge. I thought, at first I was going to give just the decals for these. And then you could just put them on, put the vinyl decals on. But that became a little bit trickier trying to get the decals in place. For me, it was, the arms were a little bit trickier. I probably made it more complicated than it had to be, and I just got it on my little face here. Darn it. Got a smudge. I shouldn't talk and paint at the same time. Then I could never do any lives. So I think maybe what I'll do, since I didn't glue this piece on, I'm going to take my sand block. Which didn't really help, but that's okay. And then we'll get these guys off. So it's just like like the tiniest little stencils. It's just, you know, bringing it all together. And I probably should have Mod Podged that one. So do as I say, not as I do. Probably going to be better. So I can always take a little fine brush later on and just touch that up a little bit and smooth it out. Sometimes if I sand it too, it'll blend it in a little bit. I think they're cute. I'm glad you like them, Pat. Okay, it is time. Let me go in here and take these pieces out real quick. I love this Cricut pick. Okay, So I'm going to use, so you're going to need either some wood glue, you could use super glue, you could possibly use hot glue. I wouldn't recommend hot glue as much, but it is possible just because it doesn't let it necessarily go flat. And you don't want a ton, you don't want it to come seeping out. So I'm going to try to keep it away from the edge. But you do want them, they're kind of looking down, just ever so slightly. We've got that piece. I don't want to press too hard right this second. I just want to give it a chance to start setting up. So if you're a Boxed Up member and you still have some of that glue left, that is perfect. I forget what month that was from, a couple months ago. But you have a little bit of time with that, which is nice as opposed to super glue, is the super glue sets up a little bit quicker. This still sets up pretty quick, but you have a little bit of time to kind of move things and situate them a little bit. But is that not the cutest little thing? Now I have my hot glue ready to go, and I'm gonna just put a little dollop on the back. I'm gonna use the pink, like I said. I'm gonna give this one a little bow up here. And I'm gonna keep the pink theme going, and I'm gonna do a bow tie. Just a little dollop right on the center, right there. But again, you could use your little burlap bow ties. You could use your red and pink, but I love it. So that is one of them. There's my hot glue. I don't want to do too much with it because it's still setting up, but there is a look at the finished product for that one. I will probably come back. You know what? I wonder. Ooh. I think I could reuse this. Everything's stuck to the vinyl here. All my cords. I think I could just put this back down over top and paint it pink. I meant to do that. It would be a lot nicer if I just reused the stencil. Well, it's not perfect. It'll be offset a little. It'll have a little bit of an outline. I still have a little paint. No, I don't. But it'll be a little bit crisper if I use the stencil than if I try to do it by hand. Hopefully that didn't bleed. And I may still touch it up a little bit more because it's not super dark. But anyway, maybe I should have left it. Maybe I should have left it. I will probably go back and fill that in so it's darker. But isn't it cute? All right, so that's the one. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. Just finish it up, get the glue on, get the paint on. I guess I can bring this over because I'm going to need it. I'm going to do all my hearts. Maybe I better do the black first. I'm going to do the viney part in black. Oh, I forgot to do the Mod Podge. Oh, no, I did. That's why we were drying. It was drying. Goodness gracious. Can't even see it. It's so dry you can't even see it. Just going to try to work around these hearts. I'm going to get a little bit on there, but I'm just trying to not get much on them. And then I'll do the pink second. I'll let this dry a little bit so that I don't end up mixing black and changing the color of my pink to more of a black shade. I'll give it a couple seconds to dry. I'll do the top lettering first. Just want to make sure my stuff is staying charged. Oh, these could be not just a date night DIY, but they could be a cute little gift, like a wedding gift or an anniversary gift, or just fun little treat for any couple, first home, something like that. All right. We'll see how well the Mod Podge did on these letters. I do want to keep the paint on the drier side. I'd rather use more layers of paint, thin layers, but multiple layers, than one thick, goopy layer, because then you have more of a chance of that paint seeping underneath. So you can see I'm keeping it really dry. I tend to do that more on words like this that are smaller and more detailed, because it always feels like there's just more of a chance of bleeding on those, no matter how smooth your background feels. So you can always put more paint on, but it's hard to take it away when you put too much. And then I actually don't think I'm going to use the initials on mine. I have them ready to go, but I don't think I'm going to use the initials. I think I'm going to leave it. I have a lot of initialed things, so I don't know that I'm going to use them on this. But just so that I can show a picture later on, I did print. Here's my stencils for Greg and Laura. Here are the decals. I'm just going to put these decals on so that I can take pictures to show what it would look like if I were to stencil. So let's say I put, do I want it right underneath or do I want it centered? I think I want it right where these indentations are. But this will at least let you see what it looks like. But you would paint these just like the rest. It's not wanting to stick real well because I only stained it. I stained this puzzle piece too soon prior to this, so it doesn't want to stick. That's why you always want to make sure that your stain is dry so your stencils will stick. Now this one should be okay because I didn't stain. I'm going to put this one right in there too. But that'll give you an idea. I don't know. I may go back and put the stencils on. Just put another little layer here while I'm waiting. And then I'm going to come in with my pink. I just like the subtle. When I do decorate for Valentine's, I usually use just soft pinks. Some people like to just keep the red going because red is easy for, you know, if you use it for Christmas, you can just continue it on for Valentine's Day. But this year, I just felt like I wanted to get my yellow out. I didn't feel like worrying about a whole new set of decor. My yellow will get me all the way through. I'd like to say through summer, but I'll be adding the spring stuff in, so I don't know at that point. But I really just needed to see my yellow again. It is always so hard when you like, you love your Christmas stuff. Most of us, it's hard to take. Some people, I think it's easy to take the Christmas down because you get so sick of it, or you not so much sick of the Christmas stuff. You just get sick of the need to feel like things are fresh and clean again, I guess. And I'm usually good until, boom, all of a sudden I'm not. Then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get rid of everything or to put it all away. And then at that point, I'm ready for my yellow. I still haven't taken everything down. I've got our upstairs, our main floor, but I do decorate our game room downstairs and our guest room. All of that is still decorated, so the whole basement, basically. But upstairs feels nice and cheery because I put the yellow back in. Like, for me, that's what I need. So my hearts have a little bit of the black in there. Again, I can touch it up later, but let's get these puzzle pieces glued on. Maybe I can start with the heart. That might be the best one to start with. Oops, that was a lot. A little more than I wanted. Checking my tiny little dot marks for the center place. I don't want to do too much to it while it's setting up. Oh, the other thing that I should have mentioned was you could, once this is kind of set in place and not moving anymore, you could set a big book, big old coffee table book or something on top of it and just give it some extra time to set. Now, when you take a stencil off like this, oh, it's going to come off in all these little pieces. You can like wiggle it a little bit. Wiggle it just a little. That's what I think of every time I say that to people when they were at a workshop. I'd be like, you can wiggle it. And then that song would come up in my head. When you have like a detailed stencil like this, sometimes you can do that like little wiggling motion just to not have it break apart in 50 pieces. I gotta get some good pictures of these once they're nice and set. All right, it's still letting me move it just a little, very little bit, just enough that I was able to press it all back together. I don't know, maybe I will go put our initials on it. I haven't decided. But that will be the customization. You'll have to tell us what your initials are, of course, if you want this particular part of the project. Yeah, this is going to bother me. I'm going to have to go back in. Maybe I was better off to leave it black, or maybe I just need to darken it up. But there are our two. I'm trying to show it in the video down there and in the screen here. I wanted mine to match and be soft with a little pop of color. If I was going to put a pop of color, I just wanted it to be soft, but I wanted them to match. So you could like display them side by side. You could display them above each other. They would be great leaning on a shelf, or you could, you know, just put a sawtooth hook in there. Now, here's the other thing. These are the perfect kind of sign. If you've seen me talk about this before on my page, because I did this several years ago, I have shelves in my entry that say home. They say H-O-M-E, and then the last one says it's a paw print. We have 5 shelves in our entryway. Each shelf is one for each of the kids, one for family pictures, and one for Lucky.
And I like to have those signs that say HOME with the paw print on the bottom, Lucky Shelf. And on the inside, I can turn them over and they say peace for Christmas. So all I have to do is flip them around at Christmas time and then flip them back over for January. So you could come up with some other design. You could find any of our 12 by 12 inch stencils from the shop or create, do something else on the back of your own. But all you have to do is then flip them over. So if this was something you wanted to kind of do, like for your room or something like that, and you just wanted it for Valentine's, then you could flip it over and then use whatever you want for daily for the rest of the year on the other side. Or maybe you want it to be a different season or something like that. But that's what I love about these, is that you can flip them around and use either side. So that's just a thought. But your two kits, I think they're $27 and $29. But if you buy the two together, you're going to automatically get a $5 discount. You don't have to put any code in. It will just automatically take $5 off for the pair.